of the best gifts start out as unexpected pieces. These finds came from the Goodwill Bins, things I picked up just because they felt like they had some potential. I didn't know what they were for yet or who they were for, but God did. On my drive home that day, my sweet friend called me completely unplanned, and she told me that she was looking for some gifts to bless her daughter-in-law. And just like that, I knew I had just hauled exactly what she needed. What I didn't know was what would come next, that both she and her mother would soon be diagnosed with cancer. And what started as a sale became a gift of love, a way to say that God sees you, a chance for me to be his hands and heart in a tiny, creative way. And I cleaned it with toothpaste, and it's amazing how much tarnish came off with just the toothpaste. And I just buffed this a little bit. What I wanted to do was paint this part, and I am making this for someone who's purchased it from me. Okay, I am once again using chalk paint, and I'm using this Waverly Snow White paint. And what I'm doing is just trying to get my first coat of this chalk paint on the base part of the dish. And with that first coat on, I'm going to set this off to dry. So while that paint dried on the first piece, I moved on over to the second, this sweet little bucket. And what I wanted to do was to add some beautiful transfers onto it. And I was hoping that the transfers would go great and coordinate and tie the two pieces together. I did get these transfers from Amazon, and I'll also put a link to that in the description below. And what I'm doing is trying to find the right size flowers for the center of this bucket. These are like some of my smallest ones, and I'm gonna go ahead and cut these two out. That's what I love about these things, is that you don't have to use them all. You can use them any way you want. To roughly cut this out. Make sure this will fit. I'm going to have them kind of be close to each other like that. When working with transfers, you always want to put the image that's going to be in the background down first. So I'm starting with the darker one. I'm going to go ahead and pull the backing off and rub that on with the popsicle stick. So now we're ready to put the second one on, and I'm just going to trim it just a hair so it makes it easier to fit between the rope. And I am rough positioning it. I'm going to pull off the back. I'm going to rub it on with the popsicle stick. When you go to pull it off, if it is still sticking to the back of the paper, just go ahead and lay it back down. Rub it with a popsicle stick, and then gently remove your backing. And voila, there you have it. So now let's go back to project number 1. Our first coat of chalk paint has dried, and you can see there's a few spaces where the silver plate is still showing through. So I'm just going to go ahead and take my chalk paint and fill those in and let that dry. And while that is drying, we get to finish up project number 2. This is my favorite part, where we get to add dimension. So we are going to be working with some antiquing wax, and I'm using a liquid version, and I have watered it down with a lot of water, and I'm just using a paper towel to grab just a hint of it onto it, and then I'm going to apply. I'm going to start on the bottom just in case I don't love the way it looks. And it looks like I didn't quite even get enough, so I'm just going to add some more, and I'm going to go around the bottom edge to add that aged look, because as items sit down on the ground, that's where they get dirty. I am loving the way that looks, so I want to go ahead and do the same thing for the tops, and then ultimately also along the sides of the bucket to add that vintage and worn in with love feel. You can see that I am using my finger to go ahead and rub on the items, and that is to gently smooth out that antiquing wax that I'm applying. To seal it in, and you do have to seal in the rub-on transfer if you want your piece to have longevity, I am using a white wax, and I'm applying that liberally over the surface, and that is adding to that worn-in look. And I'm also going to apply it to the bottom just to give it an extra coat of protection. And while that wax is curing, and before we can stuff that bucket, let's go ahead and finish up project 1 and apply those beautiful transfers to this piece using the same process, starting with the piece that is going to go in the back first, then adding your layering pieces on in front of that. I think is so amazing about transfers is that you can allow them to go up the side of a piece, which is what I am doing on this one. And once you rub them on, you cannot even see the lines. You cannot tell that they weren't just painted directly on the item. Oh, I think that looks so beautiful. And so all we need to do now is just add a little bit of that finishing wax to seal that up and to protect that transfer, and again to add to that like distressed, worn in vintage look. I love how this turned out. Oh my gosh, I think that is so pretty. And look at that. Oh my gosh, I think that turned out so sweet. And I love how they go together. When all 4 pieces came together, it felt like they were always meant to be a set. Each one has a little bit of personality, but together they speak love. And if you'd like to see how I made that bread box, just click on this icon at the end of the video and it'll take you right to it. And what started as thrift flips became a gift of comfort made with intention, layered in prayer, and not only given from me, but from the Lord above. So thank you for joining me in this little cozy discovery, a reminder that the smallest things can become the most meaningful. And if you've ever felt nudged to do something kind, something creative, something unseen, follow that nudge. You never know how God might use it. And if you want to see more stories like these, more thrift flips, more thrifting, more shopping, more finds, and a little more heart, please hit that subscribe button and come along for the next time.